Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And we have a repeat guest this week. Shame on me. It's been a few years since our guest this week was on the show, but he and I have stayed in contact with each other and connect on social media and things like that here and there. And I've been really excited about some of the things that have happened with him and his career since he's been on the show. I'm sure the show was the launching point for all the success he's had. It has to be, right? It has to be all that. I'm kidding, of course, but really cool stuff. We're going to talk again. We talked to him again a few years ago. If you didn't see this show or listen to it, you can go back in the archives and find it. We're talking this week with Mr. Jake Schwartz. He is one of the fastest rising new stars of magic in the country. He has won international awards, worked with Fortune 500 companies, appeared on television over 65 times, and performed in 3 world tours with the most viral sports team on the planet as the Savannah Bananas magician first base coach. Mr. Jake Schwartz, welcome once again to Mr. Biz Radio.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you. It's so good to be back. Yeah, it's been awesome. You know, it's there. You know, you go on a lot of shows, but sometimes you get on a show and then you either are a fan of that show before or you become a fan of that show afterwards. And that's, you know, as you mentioned, we've stayed in touch and it's been fun, not only having been on your show, but also getting to become a Mr. Biz fan in the meantime. So it's cool being back.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so like I said, Jake and I have been stayed in touch with each other. And I guess it was probably maybe 6 weeks, a couple months ago, maybe we connected on the phone. When he was out touring with the Savannah Bananas, you know, he took time out of his busy touring schedule to talk to me. We were talking before we came on the air, and I said, yeah, I think you were in like Sacramento, California or something like that last time I talked to you, but he was getting ready for a banana show out there. Super cool stuff. But so for those who didn't see the first time you were on the show, tell us a little bit about your journey, your entrepreneur journey, your career and things like that to brought you where you're at now.
Yeah. So, I mean, my question to you would be how much time you got, because I started doing magic when I was 2 years old. The story goes, I was a really picky eater as a kid. And so my parents would ask me to make my food disappear. And that is legitimately, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds corny and made up, but that's really how I got into magic. I was making my food disappear. It's how my parents got me to eat as a toddler. And so I just fell in love with it at that point. I really, you know, maybe I didn't realize it at the time, but I fell in love with that moment, being able to give that, oh my gosh, watching my parents kind of freak out and be so engaged with me and what was going on. And so as a toddler, I started, you know, putting on shows. I was the kid that growing up when everybody else was riding skateboards and bikes and they were playing video games, I was duct taping my bed sheets to the ceiling to make curtains in the living room. And I was, you know, using an old overhead projector as a spotlight. And I was making crayon tickets for every, you know, family gathering that we had. And that's really was my life growing up. It didn't even occur to me that like other kids were, you know, making friends. Like it didn't really register. And so that's at 10, I decided I was going to give my life to this. And at 15, I officially started a business. And 10 years later, here we are. We're picking up steam at a 10-year overnight success, kind of on plan for what they say, right?
That's right. That's right. So how did you get started at 15? Like, what did you start doing at 15? So at that point, you're what, maybe a freshman, sophomore in high school, something like that?
Yeah. I mean, my first few shows, I couldn't drive myself to my own shows. Like my parents were driving me. But it was, I shoveled the snow off of the driveway in my off of all the driveways in my neighborhood to pay for my first website. It was a disgusting puke green backgrounded website. And I literally had to email somebody else, like he had a typo and I would have to say, his name was Al, dear Al, could you please change the second A in the word, blah, you know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And, but that was it. I just started doing kind of anything I could get. My first shows were at my former synagogue. They would have me come perform for the campers. Just people I knew. If we were family friends with a caterer, like he got me a show a couple times. And that's kind of how it all started. It was just whatever, wherever, whenever, whatever, however I could get on stage, I did it. And then from there, you slowly start to figure out, okay, I can actually control this a little bit. I can reach out to people. I can decide that I want to pursue corporate events, which is what I've done mainly since graduating college, instead of the camp shows. I like the corporate events a little bit better. I like this type of company over that type of company, this type of show over that type of show. And it's really just been putting one foot in front of the other and learning that way.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you kind of alluded to it, but you're probably, at least at first, you're like just any stage. Like if there's 5 people, if there's 15 people, if there's 100 people, doesn't matter. I just want to get on stage to practice the craft. Is that kind of?
Yeah. Absolutely, and especially when you're doing something like performing. But really, I would even say, like, if you're selling to somebody, that is 100% of performance. You have a script, you have different beats. Like even in my show, I don't always script out every last word, but I'll script out beats. So I know that I have to get from this thing, which then leads to that punchline, which then makes sense for me to introduce that prop. So how I get there can change from time to time, but you script out these general beats and any sale, any pitch, whatever it is. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're putting on a performance. And so that's so important, really, whatever you do, but especially for me, a performer, like we call it 10,000 hours. Like it's your flight time. It's anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And in that 10,000 hours. So whether, you back of a pizza party for a girls softball team that came in 7th, and they're just looking for something to wrap up their season. So, you take the little birthday parties and you kind of, whatever it is, just to get on stage, just to get in front of people. And especially in Magic, there's not as structured of a minor leagues, for lack of a better word, as there is in sports or even in sales, where you can kind of take, especially if you're working for somebody else, like you can take some things that are low risk so you can swing and miss. It's okay. That doesn't really happen in Magic. Like right off the bat, you're getting asked to do 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour. And so anything you can take, any of that stage time is huge.
Yeah. So coming up, and we've got about a minute or so left here, but coming up, were there any particular magicians that you sort of really studied and admired and kind of, honed your own act after?
I love this question because absolutely, whatever you do, and even now I'm studying like Steve Jobs. I'm studying, I'm listening to a podcast about the founder of Red Bull. Like, what did that guy do that worked? Yep. And so in Magic, in anything, you can forge a new path, and it helps a lot to know what came before you. And so for me, Penn and Teller were my biggest inspiration, really, probably still, because they were the first people to say, the secret to the Magic isn't as important as you think it is. It's what kind of story can you tell through the Magic? What do you have to say? What can you bring to a trick other than here's something I bet you can't figure it out?
Yeah, super cool. Because, and the reason I asked that question, I was obviously curious as well, but I talk about that all the time, as I call it modeling expert behavior. Find someone who's really good at what you're trying to get good at and learn from them, shortcut your path to success.
Yeah, even comparable businesses. Like, one of the podcasts I just listened to was a biography of Oprah. Like, she's not a magician, but it's similar enough that she had to find a way to break through, find a way to own her own IP and her own show and all that kind of stuff. And she's made, obviously, some wise decisions.
Yeah, good stuff. We're going to hit a break here. We're going to come back, and we're going to get a little bit of magic from Mr. Schwartz on Mr. Biz Radio.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@mrbizsolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to Mr. Biz Radio. Again, we're talking with Mr. Jake Schwartz. So we've been talking about Jake. We've been talking about his magic and, oh, he's this fast rising star and all this stuff. And people are probably like, I've seen a bunch of magicians. Half of them are hacks and crap and everything. But I'm here to tell you, and this is one of the reasons he's back on the show, because, again, he was on the show several years ago, and it was a great show. And, again, we stayed in contact with each other. And I followed him on social media, and I see all these things he's doing, and I'm like, he puts these things out, and they're the types of things like you see on social media where you're like, copy link, send. Like, you got to see this, you got to see this, you got to see this. I've done it a bunch of times with a bunch of different things he's done. So I asked him, I'm like, Jake, for those of you guys who are listening, you're going to miss out. This is a bit of visual. That just makes you go check out on YouTube channel so you can see the visual of it. But Jake, give us a little taste. Throw a trick my way.
Yes, you got it. So I'm sure something we're going to talk about here probably soon is stories. Because stories for me have been so critical to so many different aspects of my life and career. The stories you tell yourself, the stories you tell the people you work with, your clients, whatever it is. We're storytelling creatures. So I've got a quick story for you, and then I want to show you, Mr. Biz, just how powerful the stories you tell yourself could be. So when I was growing up, I had a sleepover, and we had like a bunch of family friends I did karate, and they did karate with me. And so it was like there were 4 families, me, my sister, and my friends, and like their sisters, and we all got together for a sleepover. And I told a scary story. And I didn't think anything. It was just a story I'd heard. And then a couple weeks later, my mom got a call from my friend's mom to say that my friend's sister is still having nightmares about the story that I told. So maybe I shouldn't tell that story anymore. And of course, me being the kind-hearted person that I am, thought to myself, I did a pretty good job performing that story, didn't I?
That's right. That's right.
My first thought, So I want you to tell yourself a story here. And here's the story you're going to tell yourself. So I've got a deck of cards here. Now, they are all blank on both sides, okay? Except for one. It's the Jack of Spades. And I want you to imagine that you have this Jack of Spades and you're kind of, positioning it, you're taking it up and down the deck, and you slide it in the middle of the deck. But you know exactly how many cards down you put the Jack. How many cards down did you put the Jack?
Am I supposed to tell you that right now?
Yeah, you can tell me.
I put it down 28.
28. Is there does that have significance to you at all?
It's my dad's birthday.
Okay, 28. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, exactly 28 cards down. The only card that's printed on either side. That's an incredible story that you told yourself that just proved to come to reality. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, he got lucky. And if you want to tell yourself that story, that's totally fine. But if that were the case, I would have to be an absolute idiot to do it again. I'm going to reposition my card here. Okay. I've done that. And I know I want to be sensitive of the time here. Exactly how many cards down have you placed the Jack?
This time, I'm going to go with 7.
7. Exactly 7. You just went down right to 7. You didn't even put it anywhere near the middle. You're just going exactly 7 down.
I'm throwing you a curveball, Jake.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exactly, once again, 7 cards down. It's amazing the stories we tell ourselves and how they turn out to come true and turn into reality.
Absolutely amazing.
Is that a good
And by the way, just so everyone knows, we did not rehearse that. I did not tell him the numbers I was going to pick. And by the way, I picked 7 on purpose the second time. It had some significance to it. All numbers do because I'm a numbers nerd. But I thought I'm going to throw him a curveball here because you had mentioned somewhere around the middle. So I'm thinking he's probably thinking somewhere between, I don't know, 20 and 30 or whatever. Screw that. I'm going to go 7 because that's nowhere near the middle. I'm going to throw him completely off. So I tried to mess you up, Jake. I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to mess you up, but I wanted to show, I knew you'd come through and I wanted to show how amazing you are.
It's always nice to get that big fat middle finger from the person interviewing it. No, I'm kidding.
No, because again, I knew you would come through, and I think that shows, like, it's, someone could say that, like, oh, he said somewhere around the middle, so you're going to pick somewhere around 26 or so. And so I thought, no, I'm gonna change it up here a little bit and show everyone. And by the way, guys, follow his Instagram, Jake of Spades. He's Jake of Spades on Instagram. You'll see some of these things he's done in front of 40,000 plus people in Minute Maid Park in Houston with the Savannah Bananas. You guys were in Washington.
Yeah.
He's coming to Cleveland here, coming up here. And actually my wife and I are going to be guests of Jake's. I appreciate that. But we've only got a couple minutes here, but I want to get into, we've got a couple more things I want to cover. But, you talked about your career. How did you get in with the Bananas? How did that even happen?
So this is a really funny story. The owner had reached out to me, Jesse Cole, for what I thought was going to be a corporate event because I had, done some shows for the Phillies and things like that. So, and I remember like before we got on the phone, I'm like, man, if I get this, I can say I've performed for 2 baseball teams. And of course we got on the phone and he says, no. I want you to put it in the game. And I went, that's really cool. And so there's been different iterations of the Bananas Magician over the years. Right now I'm coaching first base. I'm in the staff. I've kind of been all over, and it's been a lot of fun just to really do magic in a way that's never been done before. And, three tours later, here we are. It's worked out. It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to you for getting that. I mean, and again, guys, you'll see, go out on his Instagram, you'll see he shares a lot of things that he does on the road with the Bananas. And, he's a combination of a bunch of different things as I think back of magicians, and he's even got some some Blaine, like David Blaine type things in there where he's levitating bats and things like that, where he's not your everyday first base coach. Let me just say that.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting too, because it's so different than it's such a unique context of doing magic, and it's so different than anything else that I've done. Even like if you come see my show, it's very much like this. It's conversational. It's me and the audience, not me versus the audience. That's something that's always really important to me. And it's very conversational. It's written like comedy. But if you're on first base and there's 40,000 people there, it's not like I can really crack a joke or throw in a one-liner there. So it's just totally different. It's bigger and it's more emotional. It's more mime type of thing. But it's been a fun challenge to figure out, especially knowing nobody's ever done anything like it before, ever. And magic's one of the oldest art forms in the history of the world. Yeah.
Well, and the other cool thing too is that it shows the reality of, you're not on stage with props around you or anything. You're out in the middle of a baseball field. So you can't you can't fake the funk, as I say. Guys, we're going to hit a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to find out more about Jake's upcoming tour and how to over-deliver for customers.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to Mr. Biz Radio. Talking again this week with Mr. Jake Schwartz. You can find out more at his website. We'll put this in the show notes as well, but jakeofspades.com, jakeofspades.com, and then follow him on Instagram, Jake of Spades there as well. Again, you can see some of the cool stuff that he does. But I'd be remiss. I want to talk. I want to get into, again, I know you as an entrepreneur, magician, and coming up, customers and over delivering your customers, and especially with the way the bananas, I'm sure you learned a lot from that. I want to get into some of that, how to over deliver for customers. I know you know a lot about that. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit. I know some exciting stuff, and I'm going to, like I said, we talked 6 weeks ago, and that's when you told me, hey, I'm going to do a tour in the fall, and I'm like, holy crap, you need to come on the show and we need to talk about this tour. What's this tour going to look like, Jake?
Yeah. So when you usually think of a magic show, you think of something that is very mysterious and intense, and you think of almost cringy brain teaser challenges for an hour. And I said, I want to create an experience that is the exact opposite of all of those things. So I want to do magic that tells a story. I want to do magic that brings people together. I want to lead with fun and the fan experience and put that above everything else. So we've included a whole bunch of unique features and experiences that you can't find at any other theater show. And we just basically included them all in the price of your ticket. And the goal for this is to create the most personable and the most engaging theater experience on the planet. That's my goal. That's what I want to do in every city that I go to, so that people can leave the theater. Yeah, your mind's going to be blown, but you're going to feel good about yourself and the world. You're going to laugh. You're going to have fun. And that's first and foremost. And so that's really the goal for this tour. Like I said, you'll see if you go to my website, it says, come together, be amazed, change the game. That's the goal for this tour. And that's why it's called the Game Changing Magic Tour.
And so everyone can get information about that if they're curious and you're watching it later.
Yes.
Your website's the best place to go?
Yes. And, I mentioned I'm taking everything that is what you usually associate with a magic show and doing the opposite. And the same is true for how you can get tickets. So usually most artists will pick a place and then try to find people there. I want to do the opposite. I want the people, the fans, to tell me where to go. So you can actually go on my website right now. You can join the lottery list. There's a list of cities I'm thinking about going to. But even if the place you want me to go or the place nearest your home isn't on there, you can still hit other cities. Tell me where, what comes up next. You put in your zip code, and then as I see more people join the lottery list, I can then base my tour around where people want me to come.
I love it. I love it. Good stuff. Looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to check that out. I'm not sure where exactly. We'll have to see where everything lands on how close you'll be to where we're at, but I'll travel. I got to come see Mr. Jake Schwartz, because seriously, I'm really looking forward to it, because that's the other thing that I really appreciate about Jake, the way you do this is, I think you summed it up very well. It's not just magic.
Right.
It's magic entertainment. It's almost like, kind of, we were talking off air about during the break, the Savannah Bananas. It's not baseball. It's like entertainment baseball. And I feel like you kind of bring that same element to magic is kind of what the impression I get and the feel I get.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned over delivering for people like that. That's what's been so great about the Bananas is, look, like, I'm not coaching first base at my show, in a theater. It's a different context, but you can still have that same mindset. Learning, Jesse is big on Walt Disney, big on P.T. Barnum. So kind of studying those guys, how they've over delivered for their fans, and then being a part of it, building it with the Bananas, to now kind of taking that same mindset to my show. And that's what I'm really looking forward to is building that connection with people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's a good segue. So what are some things that you've learned, as an entrepreneur yourself, as a magician, and building your business and things like that? And then as well as being associated with Savannah Bananas and how they do things and how they're very big on, as you just mentioned, on over delivering for customers. What are some of those things that, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you can really start to take some lessons from that, as you kind of alluded to?
Yeah, and any business owner, like you, especially if it's your own business, like you want to over deliver for the people who purchase from you. It's because you're a good person. It's why you started the business. So here are some hopefully concrete, easy to follow kind of ways to do that. First of all, tell a story. We mentioned telling a story. Think about, consciously think, what is the story that I'm trying to tell to the people who might buy from me? Either the customer journey of where they're starting, where they're ending up, or even it could be as simple as the story of I was two and I got into magic this way. That's an example of a story. But even as they're waiting, if you own a restaurant and somebody's waiting there, okay, that's great. What story are you telling them? Are you giving them a reason to be excited about about their table that's coming? Or are you telling them the story of, I don't know, we'll have your table when we have it, sit there and take it. So those are examples of stories. Number two, understand your parameters. And this is a big one for me. When I was coming up as a magician, I had a mentor of mine who taught a class called Understanding Parameters. And he literally would have us do things like, he would say, I want you to pick a classic of magic and you have to come up by tomorrow with a new method. So something that everybody is so habitually ingrained, especially as magicians, that's a classic of magic. Can you then tomorrow come up with a new method for it? Come up with 3 new methods for it. So what are the actual parameters of what you do? And we don't often consider this. So for me, my show, my actual set is 60 to 75 minutes. But when you buy a ticket from me, when you come to see my tour, the show is weeks long. The show begins the second you buy a ticket. It continues the second you walk in the door, and it extends for weeks after you leave, because I thought, what are the actual parameters of what I'm doing? So what are the parameters of what you do? And last but not least, this is a big Jesse Cole thing, which is really a big Disney thing as well. And that's identifying friction points. A friction point is any moment in time where your customer, your fan, your client is doing something that maybe they don't really want to do to get what they want in the end. So to continue with the restaurant example, a friction point is waiting for your table. So, okay, if you can identify those friction points, now what can you do? Rather than make people just sit there or stand there, can I say, have a seat at the bar and we'd be happy. You can order appetizers and drinks at the bar. We've got a VIP patio lounge for the people who are waiting for their table. And you can go out. We've got music. We've got drinks. We've got appetizers. Now you're going to have people who come to your restaurant early because they want to wait for their table. Right. So it's a friction point that when you can identify it, you can address it. And that's a really big way, a really easy way. And a lot of times it's often in our means. In that restaurant example, they probably have some sort of area that they're not getting the most out of. And if you can direct people to an experience, to a surprise, a fun thing that they weren't expecting, now they're going to keep coming back. They're going to pick you over any other restaurant because of how much fun they have.
Yeah, for sure. And I literally just saw in the last week, Jesse had a video on TikTok. We were talking about Jesse Cole, the co-founder of Savannah Bananas. He just had a video on TikTok very similar to this, talking about friction points. And I forget the example he used, but he said early on with the bananas, they had a friction point, and he figured out how to flip it around. And it really hit home to me, because one of the things I talk about all the time, and I talk to clients about, is make it easy for people to do business with you. Right. And some of that is the friction point action. And the example you gave with the restaurant is absolutely critical, Jake, because you're right. One of the pain in the necks of being in any decent sized city and trying to get a popular restaurant on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, right? You're probably gonna have to wait if you're going in, normal, typical time. Well, if every other place you're sitting there waiting and you're sweating and you're crunched in a seat, or you have to stand the whole time, or at Jake's place, there's some other element to it. There's some other entertaining part about it. You're taking that friction, and not only taking the friction, you're making it anti-friction, right? You're making it cool. Right.
Yeah. And you know what? This is my show. Like I have people who are coming to see my show who are like, we can't wait to get there early. Usually when you go see a show, you try to cut it as close as you possibly can, because you're going to get to your seat and scroll on your phone for 45 minutes. It's the opposite. I've got an entire pre-show experience designed for that reason. And now people are excited to get to the theater early and wait for the show to start, because they're not really waiting.
Love it. Love it. Jake, we're out of time here. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Again, go out to jakeofspades.com, jakeofspades.com. Check him out on Instagram, Jake of Spades there as well. Really appreciate him coming on the show. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer